you look at the numbers, there is no denying it. Same passer rating. First season as a starter. Passer rating, Jordan Love 93.8, Rodgers 93.8. Completion percentage identical. TD to interceptions virtually identical.
Outside of Patrick Mahomes, if we, the four of us, were running an NFL team today, there is nobody on the planet I'd rather have than Jordan Love, period, end of sentence.
Jordan Love's journey has been anything but typical, but it's clear now that the Green Bay Packers have made the right choice. Continuing a remarkable franchise streak of elite quarterbacks spanning over 3 decades, Love has earned a reputation for delivering jaw-dropping plays. However, his path to success wasn't always smooth, spending years behind Aaron Rodgers before struggling even as a starter last year. And in today's video, we're going to go over times that players, coaches, and even analysts tried to talk down on Jordan Love. And during this video, even reveal what Aaron Rodgers thinks from his newest documentary, Enigma, on Netflix. This is what NFL players actually think about Jordan Love. Now, the Green Bay Packers, as we all know, in 2020 made a hell of a stir by picking Jordan Love in that 2020 draft while still having Aaron Rodgers. Fresh off of a 13-3 season and an NFC Championship game loss to the San Francisco 49ers, and with Aaron Rodgers closing in on 40, all signs pointed towards Green Bay using that pick to bolster their offense and give their future Hall of Fame quarterback as much support as possible to try and get across the line. It was pretty obvious what Aaron Rodgers wanted to, with him even going on the Pat McAfee show earlier in the first round to say that he was hoping his team would find him a playmaker. Instead, he was completely shocked.
Apparently, the pick is in.
And I was like, oh shoot, I'm gonna get on here. So I was sitting in the TV room at my house in Malibu, and I looked down at my phone, and my agent just texted me quarterback. And I was like, no fucking way. It happens. And I immediately got up off the couch and was super non-reactive, and I just went and poured myself some tequila and went back to the couch and knew that there was going to be some interesting conversation that happened.
I mean, honestly, the move to draft Jordan Love in the first round of that draft really brought us a lot of reactions that not many people were expecting the Packers to do. I mean, hell, even look at how they reacted on the Pat McAfee show when it happened.
Jordan Love, quarterback, Utah State.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Walk it off!
Like, I mean, whether this was the Green Bay Packers anticipating a decline in Aaron Rodgers or simply seeing a talent they felt they couldn't pass up on, we'll really never know. Furthermore, I think it was just more so kind of ironic that the exact same situation that Aaron Rodgers had come into in the NFL with Brett Favre was now happening to him as they drafted Jordan Love and basically had the exact same situation now in their hands. Like, as we all know, Brett Favre really didn't like mentoring Aaron Rodgers, but luckily Aaron Rodgers had a little bit different of a mindset, or at least we've come to know over the past several years, from what he's told us at least.
You might say something to a guy that's gonna change their life for the better, and
it matters
because it happened to me. And that's how I tried to approach my time with Jordan Love. Is I remember what it was like to be a backup behind a legend, and to wait, and like, how can I give him an experience that he can look back on and go, man, I'm thankful for this and for this and for this and for this, and I'm thankful because now we have a great relationship. So I could text him throughout the year and encourage him and tell him, hey, great job. You know, I love watching you play and seeing him have success.
As we all know too, the draft and sit approach is a very polarizing one, with plenty arguing that you need to get those young quarterbacks onto the field immediately because experience is what matters most. However, we weren't far removed from a 2017 season in which Patrick Mahomes sat for almost the entire year after being drafted in the first round. And well, we all know how that went that year. Somebody who definitely was a fan of the process is a certain Tom Brady, and I think it's fair to say that he knows a thing or two about playing quarterback. When discussing Love's good play in 2024, Brady said this:
he had Aaron Rodgers to watch. He got that's the best type of training, in my opinion. Watch someone else do it at a very high level and then try to emulate them with your own personality. Maybe a little bit of the misnomer with the draft is that these players can come in and all of a sudden become this great professional player before they've really had the training and the development.
Luckily for Jordan Love, though, he has that talent because his selection in the first round appeared to only inspire Aaron Rodgers to play better, with the future Hall of Famer going on to register 2 consecutive MVP seasons, resigning Jordan Love to the bench for the first 3 years of his career. Eventually, though, Jordan did get his chance taking over in the 2023 season as Rodgers was sent to New York to be the savior for the Jets. And I mean, 2023 was officially going to be a huge year for Love. It was not just his first starting year of action, but but also a pressure-filled campaign in which he needed to prove he was worthy of a long-term extension with the team that had drafted him. I mean, honestly, things couldn't have started better, with Love tossing 3 touchdowns in a regular season opening win against the division rival Chicago Bears. Another 3 touchdowns arrived 1 week later, although it wasn't a loss, before the Packers defeated New Orleans in week 3. While Love had not completed over 56% of his passes in either of those 3 games, he had started with a healthy 7 touchdowns to just 1 interception, filling the fan base with hope. Unfortunately, though, those good vibes really didn't continue. A week 4 loss to the Detroit Lions kickstarted a 6-game stretch in which Green Bay lost 5 games. During that 6-game stretch, Love threw 7 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, and all of a sudden the fan base was panicking and the media was turning against him.
I watched Jordan Love, and you're a former NFL scout. Like, I don't see it. I don't see it at all. It's game managing 4 years in. What do you see?
So like, we're not picking up the 5th-year option. We're not giving you some extension here. Give you $11 million going rate for a backup quarterback, $3, $4, $5 million a year. Nothing crazy. If he's a backup quarterback, has to play an individual game, not terrible. But I think with every snap that plays out, probably pretty clear that they don't have their next Aaron Rodgers on their hand.
I mean, as you can tell, things were starting to get pretty rough for the kid. The sentiment surrounding Love was low, and people seemed genuinely happy that a quarterback move had finally failed for the Packers. However, in a Week 11 game against the Chargers, things began to change all of a sudden. You see, despite a rough run of form, Jordan Love had the locker room behind him. Defensive leader Rashawn Gary went on Chris Long's Greenlight podcast, and when he was asked if there was a time when he became aware that Jordan had arrived, he said this.
First year starting the OTA program, and you know how normally, your strength conditioning coach bring you up and, wait for somebody to break it down. He took charge right away, set the tone. This is how we're going to set our offseason program. This is going to be the goals. And just, how every day, man, he keeps his head up and he has everybody. I'm talking about from special teams, defense, and of course the offense behind him. Man, you got to love a guy like that.
Are you looking for a new book this football season? BetUS is the answer. They have the fastest and easiest payouts in the industry, along with 24/7 personalized service, 365 days a year. Not only that, but they have live wagering on all major games, so if you see something mid-game and want to make a wager on it, you can. And the best part is you get 10% back on your net losses twice a year. And now look, you guys knew I had to come through with you guys for a promo code, so make sure that you guys are using code YouTube150 for a nice 150% deposit bonus on up to $2,000. That's right, we were doing 125%, but we said screw that, we're giving you guys 150% instead. Again, that is promo code YouTube150 for a 150% deposit bonus on up to $2,000. Again, thank you to BetUS for sponsoring today's video, but for now, let's hop back into it. I mean, honestly, we all know that Jordan already had 3 years to get to know his teammates by the time he did take over the starting role, but it was still important for him to make a first impression as the starter. And he certainly did that, winning over a key veteran leader of the defense immediately. And if he could win over Rashawn Gary, there was no doubt he would have been able to win over the rest of his team as well. So with the team behind him, Jordan Love began his road to redemption with a 322-yard, 2-touchdown performance against the LA Chargers in Week 11, followed up by an even better 268-yard, 3-touchdown performance against the division rival Detroit Lions, which also featured 3 rushes for 39 yards. I mean, honestly, at this point in the season, things were just starting to click for Jordan Love, but I think during that Kansas City game that we all got to see him in against Patrick Mahomes, that's when kind of he just came out of the woodworks and was showing everybody what he actually could do. I mean, hell, when Patrick Mahomes was even asked about his upcoming opponent, it was clear that the former MVP recognized the upward curve that Jordan Love was on.
Jordan's gotten better and better at every single game. He's always had the talent, but when you get more and more reps, I mean, he didn't play for 3 years basically, so he's got more and more reps. You can see how much more comfortable he's getting.
I mean, honestly, Mahomes probably knows what he's talking about within this realm too, having sat for almost a year and developed into a future Hall of Famer. Unfortunately for Mahomes though, despite having made it out of the other side of his developmental curve, he was not able to get one over Love, who delivered yet another sensational performance, completing 69.4% of his passes for 267 yards and 3 touchdowns against a very well-coached Steve Spagnuolo defense. That incredible 3-game stretch had seen Jordan Love pass for 857 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions, seeing off Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, and Patrick Mahomes in the process. And I mean, honestly, it's so fitting that he played well against Patrick Mahomes too, with the pair sharing similar qualities. I mean, if you listen to Kenny Clark, who's gone up against Jordan Love every day in practice, the way he describes his quarterback style of play is very reminiscent of the GOAT in Kansas City.
You know, it's all the different arm angles, how he sits in the pocket, he can get out the pocket, just elusive. He do pretty much everything.
I mean, that sounds like everything you want in a quarterback, but Patrick Mahomes isn't the most obvious person to compare Jordan Love to. Having spent 3 years backing up a future Hall of Famer in Aaron Rodgers, it's only natural that he picks up some of his traits of his predecessor. This was certainly noticed by Packers wideout Romeo Doubs, who told Spectrum News 1, when you go from Aaron Rodgers to Jordan, Aaron was a really great quarterback, but I believe Jordan can do the exact same thing. So I don't really see what's the difference. I mean, honestly, if we're going to start comparing him to Rodgers, why not just ask Aaron Rodgers what he thinks about Jordan Love directly?
You know, him, like me when I was younger, you know, we are able to do things moving not just in the pocket, but out of the pocket, extended plays. And he's so good at that. And taking out that ability and then messing with your legs a little bit, you can see some of those, balls just not end up exactly where he wants it. And I know what that feels like. But overall, I think he's had another really, really, really solid season. I love watching him play. He's accurate with the football. He's making good decisions.
Receiving comparisons to greats like Mahomes and Rodgers can sometimes be a curse for young players who are then set the impossible challenge of living up to those expectations. But when Rodgers himself is singing his praises, you know he's doing something right. But what about the guys who have to go up against him? It's one thing to hear praise coming from offensive players who enjoy watching him play, but it's another to hear those from people who just can't stop him. One such player is TJ Edwards, a linebacker for the Chicago Bears, who said this.
I think that last game we played against him, he was moving us with his eyes. He was doing things that, top quarterbacks do, and he can make every throw and escape in the pocket. Felt like we couldn't get to him. And again, man, he manages the game well. For a younger guy, he manages the game well. Looked me off one time. That's the one that kind of pissed me off. But it was 3-by-1, so he was looking strong. That's kind of what their pass game has been. They hit a backside dig kind of right next to me. Those are normally ones that those are like my favorite. And got there late. The big third down completion, and my hat's off to him, though. He's a hell of a player for sure.
That game against the Bears that TJ Edwards is talking about came in week 18 of the 2023 season, which was wrapping up a second half of the season that was absolutely perfect for Love. He won 6 of his last 8 games to get the Packers into the playoffs, which set up a jaw-dropping hammering of Dallas on the road in the wildcard round. As underdogs, Love and the Packers stormed into AT&T Stadium and blew the doors off of it with a 48-32 demolishing. Love completed 76 of his passes for 272 yards and 3 touchdowns, completely outplaying Dak Prescott on the day. One player who could do little to slow down Love on that day was Micah Parsons, who knows exactly how good the Packers quarterback is.
Jordan Love is entering the top 5 conversation. I already thought he was a top 10, but I think he's entering that realm where you compare him and you say, hey, this guy is really, really, really good. Some of the throws, some of the accuracy, the step in the pocket, running, throwing dives 30, 40 yards downfield, the anticipation, the be able to make the throws off the back foot, sidearm, things like that. Jordan Love was all doing those things.
And it's not even just only players recognizing all of his talent. Even former GM Mike Tannenbaum said this.
Outside of Patrick Mahomes, if we, the 4 of us, were running an NFL team today, there is nobody on the planet I'd rather have than Jordan Love, period, end of sentence. 25 years old, can make all the throws, 6'4", high character, high processor, can make people miss. The sky is the limit.
Jordan Love finished his 2023 campaign with 4,159 yards, 32 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions to go along with 247 yards and 4 scores on the ground. He passed for another 466 yards and 5 touchdowns in the playoffs, proving he wasn't going to shy away from the big stage. As Mike Tannenbaum said, he genuinely did play like the best quarterback in the NFL over the second half of the 2023 season, and his reward was a massive $220 million 4-year extension that tied him for the highest paid annual value at the time of $55 million per year. Jordan's play in 2023 certainly made him worth the money and has continued that form in 2024. But one of the most exciting things for Packers fans is also what they don't see take place on the field. It's clear that Jordan Love was born a leader and that he loves his teammates. This was perfectly summed up by a rotational wide receiver in Bo Melton, who said, "It's just crazy how he can bond with everybody. Every wide receiver, every running back, he just has a knack for him." Melton goes on to discuss how Jordan Love hosts dinners for his teammates on Mondays, so that way they can bond and also get an early look at the tape together. So I mean, really, when you combine that leadership with his efforts on the field, there's no doubt that Jordan Love has got it all. And Green Bay fans have got their 3rd top-tier quarterback in a row. The question is now, though, is whether that he can follow the footsteps of both Favre and Rodgers and bring a Lombardi trophy back to Lambeau.